I just realized that we've never really shown you what our solar setup is, and we're getting a ton of comments, especially since our mini split video, on what solar we are running. So I'm gonna have Lance go through everything that he did on the solar system, how he set it up, where we ordered it from. I'll make sure to put some links below so that way you can shop that way too. We haven't actually been fully living in this thing yet, so I can't attest to exactly how much power, if it's giving us just enough, more than enough, but so far we've literally been running welders and saws off of it. So here you go, I hope it helps.
So in this box here, it's just basically a case for these Dogen power battery cells. I ordered these online. There's a total of 8 of them wired in a 24 volt system. This is something I had to do, obviously. So there's other options out there like ordering batteries. However, this is 560 amp hours. Basically in this configuration here, this top part is made to have just a fan run through it to cool it. So these are all spaced out in here and built for cooling and function.
And it was a kit, right? You had to get it as a kit?
It wasn't a kit, so I had to create the kit. So this was definitely more of like a intermediate way to do the battery setup. Buying batteries would be way easier, but again, you could only probably fit 2 to 3 batteries in this space. So maybe a total of 300 amp hours. Where this is 560 amp hours of lithium batteries. And that's why we can power our mini split. This has 13,000 and change watts of power, so that's a good amount. Now what's powering this is 300 watts of solar on the roof, which is a lot less than I would like. However, that's all we could fit on the roof with our fan and our moonroof. I've ran HQST, which is high quality solar technology solar panels. They are slightly cheaper than Renogy solar panels, and right now in the market you basically have Renogy, HQST, and then a bunch of different like Chinese brands. And as far as I'm concerned, HQST is built in the same factory as Renogy, and they are very similar in quality, and I've had really good luck with them so far. I guess no issues, no complaints. They're pretty cheap. I think they're a little under $1 a watt, which is pretty good for these automotive solar panels. So there's other ways we're going to power this as well. One being the alternator, and then we'll have an option to plug in from outside source to charge our battery pack as well. Our solar's coming down to a charge controller, which is that right there that says Rover on it. So this is a 40 amp hour charge controller. Basically what this does is it takes the power from the sun, brings it down into that box, and steadily meters it into our batteries. If we didn't have this charge controller, we would just have a inconsistent flow of power from the sun, because the sun is very changing constantly based on seasons, times, solar flares, stuff like that, and that charge controller stops that from happening. Now I actually am missing a couple things right now. We don't have 120 volt ran off of this yet, so this inverter here takes our 24 volt and bumps it up to 120 volt system. Now I need to run this to a breaker box essentially, so that way we have a little added surge protection, but that's in time. So for right now, this inverter here is a 3000 watt continuous power inverter, and I think it's 6000 or 9000 peak, which is nice. I like those peak numbers, because a lot of appliances, turning them on will surge really high, and this will be able to handle it no problem. So off of this battery pack and inverter, we've ran a miter saw, a welder. What else have we ran off this?
The mini split.
The mini split, yeah.
I mean, that's the true goal.
That's the true reason why we have this very powerful inverter. Now the mini split actually doesn't pull that much power, but we'll get to that later. Up here, because this is a 24 volt system, this here is a 24 volt to 12 volt converter. So what's interesting about 24 volt, which blew me away, is these bottom lines, the red and black, you can see how they're smaller. That's because they're 24 volt, and then they come out 12 volt as a much bigger gauge. So 12 volt actually needs thicker wires. That's another benefit of this 24 volt, is you actually save money on wires because you can run thinner ones. So once it goes into this 12 volt fuse block, it's called, because this is a vehicle, we're going to run a lot of 12-volt appliances. So I only have one fuse in here, and it's temporarily wired to our fan on the roof, but we would go through and fill these with correct fuses, and this up here is our negative and our positives, and we can run all of our power off of this fuse block. That's 12 volt, of course. And this is just a protective cover that we can write down what these wires go to. 12 volt is more efficient than 120 in our case because we have to take it from 24 volt to 12 volt and then out, which is more efficient. That's direct current power, which is more efficient than going from our 24 volt direct current to 120 volt AC power. You definitely lose some efficiency in that conversion due to like heat and other things. For instance, our fridge is going to run off at 12 volt, which will save us power. Our lights are 12 volt, our fans 12 volt, pretty much as we can, like water pumps and other appliances like that are going to be 12 volt, and really the only 120 volt appliances are going to be like our laptop and stuff. So we'll have a couple outlets scattered around just for our convenience. So the battery pack to make, I think, was about $1,300. So I had to buy the batteries and a battery monitoring system, it's called. So this is kind of the more DIY situation. So in all batteries you buy inside those plastic cases, lithium batteries that is, have a BMS. So what this does is it takes in how much voltage each cell has and monitors them and charges them evenly, as well as monitoring the temperature of them. Now this is very important because lithium batteries can actually like explode and light fire, so a good BMS is important, and I'm very happy with this BMS we have, and it's done great so far. So one thing this BMS I like is it comes with this app here. Can you see that? So at the top you can see our percentage and how much voltage is coming in, and you'll also be able to see how much voltage is going out if there is much voltage going out of this. Volts and amps, or not volts, watts and amps. Under here you can see our 8 cells and it's balancing them. You want to keep all those cells balanced so it's constantly fluctuating the balance. We're taking it in charge right now because it's sunny out and our solar's pulling in. Well, there must be a cloud over the sun right now because we're only getting 60 watts in out of a 300 watt panel array. Alright, I just turned on our mini split here, got the AC going, and right now you can see on the discharge side over here how many amps are going out.
Okay, so the discharge says 20 amps.
Yep, and so this is going to be in 24 volts, so the bottom side there, so we're definitely... Oh, at the bottom now you can see how many watts are going out. So that's 700 watts or 800, whatever, as it's kicking on the condenser part. Now one downside to this system is, yes, we have a ton of battery bank, which is great for those cloudy days. However, we don't have too much solar coming in, so it's going to take quite some time for these batteries to charge back up. That's why we're going to have other ways to do it. We don't have those wired in yet, but for instance, the alternator will charge our batteries up, as well as we'll have a plug so we can plug in a generator or plug into a wall power to charge our batteries up. Hopefully we'll be totally fine, and I think we will, because not only is this more power than we've ever had, this is more efficient than anything we've ever had. We used to run a actual house fridge off of our inverter in a bus with 400 amp hours of AGM. Now there's definitely a way to spend like 7,000 to 10,000 plus on high-end brands like Victron. That is something I did not want to do. That's why you see all these random components in here. Might not look pretty, but I'm not looking at the solar every day. It's going to be tucked away, and all I'm concerned about is function, and it's functioning.
Of course, if you have any further questions, just drop them in the comments below. We'll get back to them as soon as possible, and we hope you the best of luck with your solar endeavors, and give us luck for the rest of this fan build. Please and thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.